After this, they celebrated with feasting and drinking and indulged themselves in dancing. Now, that sounds very interesting and seems very natural, doesn't it? That when they would have a celebration, it included feasting and dancing.
Interestingly enough, as a pastor, I see a lot of similarities between the Jedi Knights and what we would consider to be clergy. I think there's a lot of similarities even in the costumes. In my particular church, I don't wear the traditional robes and what are called vestments as much anymore, but one of my favorite similarities between a Jedi's costume and a pastor's outfit is the stole. And it's just a long strip of fabric, and we wear it over our shoulders like this. And whenever I put this on, I always think about the fact that it seems very similar to the Jedi's tabard that comes up and over, which when you're assembling the costume and putting it on, you recognize it has no physical purpose in the costume. From a Christian tradition, the stole represents our submission to a higher authority or higher power, because it's representative of the yoke. Jesus said, "Take my yoke on you," and it's a sense that we're submitting to His leadership, to His authority. And I would guess that the tabard for a Jedi reflects their, in a sense, their commitment to serve all of the galaxy.
I'm sorry, it is so hard to be candid.
I think the reason the books are so good, you know, Twilight, even Harry Potter, is like all the characters have their flaws. They're not perfect. You know, Bella has her idiosyncrasies, you know, and her issues. And I mean, Edward's not perfect. Jacob's not perfect. And I think what makes the story interesting is, you know, seeing that. And so, you know, to live your life and say, you know, I want to be just like Bella, you know, probably isn't the best thing you could aim to do.
Yeah. If I had a daughter and if she were to read the books, I would definitely sit down and talk to her because of the moral issues that are raised in Twilight about kind of giving up everything for this, your loved one, for this, you know, ideal romance and stuff like that. And just kind of give her like a realistic view on it.
Some groups choose to take that hardline approach against it because they see the negative potential. I would rather that we take a more measured approach to it and say, yes, almost everything that God has created for good has the potential to be corrupted and used for evil.
There's a lot of similarities between the Jedi and clergy in their philosophy of serving the greater good of humanity and mankind. The sense of self-sacrifice. Jedi choose to lead very ascetic lives. They don't carry much physical possessions, and they're not allowed to pursue relationships, which makes me think a lot of like monks that are forced to take vows of poverty or vows of chastity, and so on and so forth. As a pastor in 2009, I'm not required to or asked to take a vow of poverty or chastity, and yet there is still a very significant role of self-discipline in a pastor's life.
The good things you've given us can be corrupted and have been misused. Doesn't mean that we should neglect them entirely.
The person you see up there is not our Brittany.
They gathered in honor of Brittany Despins near Bronson Hospital. The paramedic was critically injured during a crash on Business Loop 131 early Sunday morning. Her family tells News Channel 3 her condition is not getting better, and they are now planning a funeral.
Brittany is driving the bus now, and she has decided it's time for her to go to a better place. So we moved it to tonight because tomorrow will be the day that we let her go, and we let her help more people at the end of her life.
Despins and her fellow co-workers went out for a night of fun in Grand Rapids and were coming back to Kalamazoo when the driver could not make the turn. The car flipped with 4 people inside. 23-year-old Trevor Stuck was killed after he was ejected from the car.
Courage doesn't always roar.
Her fiancé, Sean Larimer, is rushing home from Afghanistan right now, but won't arrive until tomorrow. The sergeant granted 2 weeks of emergency leave to come home. He's a member of the 1461st Transportation Unit out of Battle Creek.
Being so far away, there's nothing he can do. He feels totally helpless. He's not eating or nothing. He wants to be back here with Brittany.
Soon after that crash, 2 Good Samaritans stopped to help the injured when another car missed the curve and slammed into the crash scene. 8 people now in total part of this accident. That's when her family says Despin suffered her critical injuries.
1, 2, 3. We love you!
With the rain mixing with tears, they said one more goodbye in honor of their friend.
She was a hero, she is a hero, and she's going to be a hero all over again.
As time ran out, the Michigan Senate didn't even take a vote on Medicaid expansion. And that led Governor Rick Snyder, who had supported it, to blast his fellow Republicans in the Senate leadership.
Please come do your job. Please come take a vote. Please come vote yes. And please think about the positives, the financial positives, the policy positives, and just that person. That they have hope.
Snyder wanted senators to vote on a bill already passed in the House that accepts federal money to cover more than 400,000 people. But members of the Republican leadership, like Senator Mike Knopf, say they need more time to work on the bill.
I think as a Senate, we shouldn't limit ourselves to 5 days and make a decision. I think we should do like the House did and take time to be able to look this over and see if there's some reforms that we'd like to put in the bill and discuss, and or look at even other options.
Snyder was at times emotional as he talked about the possibility of Michigan's emergency rooms filling up with low-income people. He asked people in Michigan to now take action and go directly to their senators.
Every time you see a Republican senator, that you step up and say, please take a vote, not a vacation.
News Channel 3 starts off with breaking news right now.
They couldn't even talk him down long enough to get that out of his hand to find out if it was a real gun or a BB gun.
A follow-up to a rape investigation ends with the suspect dead in an officer-involved shooting. Hello, West Michigan. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kate Tillotson.
Here's what we can tell you. The shooting happened at 5:36 in the evening. Police say they were doing a follow-up investigation on a reported rape and kidnapping that happened earlier this week in the Westnedge Hill neighborhood. In that case, a woman claimed she was out walking near Fairview and University Avenues about 1 a.m. Wednesday when a man in a red pickup truck grabbed her, raped her, then dropped her back off. Police say the search for that man took them to this apartment building on Dutton tonight, where a confrontation at about 5:30 on the front porch led to that man being shot and killed by police officers. Once again, this happening at 5:30. Here it is after 10 o'clock. The crime lab is still here. We remind you, this is not the first police-involved shooting in Chief Jeff Hadley's 5 years as Kalamazoo's top cop. Of course, we all remember back in April of 2011, Kalamazoo lost its first ever officer in the line of duty. Eric Zapata shot on Hayes Park Avenue on responding to a report of shots fired. The suspect, Leonard Statler, then turned the gun on himself, killing himself. A little over a year ago, in January of 2013, police shot and killed Jacob Grassley in the lobby of the Best Western Hotel on Portage Road. He was suspected of beating his wife earlier in the day. Police believed he was armed at the time. They would find out later he was not, but a prosecutor ruled that they were justified in that shooting. Back out here live, KDPS dealing with yet another police officer involved shooting. Police leading here, or being led here, after a woman claimed she was raped and kidnapped in the Westnedge Hill neighborhood at 1 a.m. Wednesday. Her suspect description, her vehicle description, leading them to this house. And then about 5:30, a man came to the door, police say armed with a gun, and they opened fire, killing him. They are still on the scene investigating this shooting now. We've been talking with police, talking with neighbors. They are, of course, concerned about this, and it is not the first deadly crime to have happened here, not by a long shot in this downtown neighborhood. In fact, Just a few months ago, a man was found beaten almost to death in a dumpster 1 block from here, Francisco Velos Padilla. He would die days after that, and a man he met on the internet is now charged with his murder. Obviously, this second death in a very short period of time has neighbors concerned.
There's been so much crime and criminal activity around here. I don't know. I just kind of accept it, I guess. I don't know. The guy got beaten to death, somebody got robbed. I mean, you know, it happens all the time around here.